This is the Pro Wrestling Reflection Podcast with your host, the Professor Chalbelo Veracruz.
What a run!
Mr. Wonderful Tommy Wonder.
And I will take the powers of those that have no fear!
And the prodigal one, JB.
The cream, yeah. The cream of the crop.
Now it's time to go back in time in the time machine.
The American Dream! Dusty Rhodes! Too sweet!
The living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo! Look at this. I don't believe it.
Yeah. Let's do this.
Roll the dice, play your cards, break the rules, that's who you are.
What is going on there, Reflection Nights? It is a Thanksgiving hangover. It is a Survivor Series hangover. You know, it's been either a couple of days after Survivor Series, a couple of days after the turkey and the stuffing and the gravy and the mashed potatoes and the green beans and the rice and the beans. I'm already full right now. I'm saying the words and I'm full already after a couple of days after Thanksgiving, a week after Thanksgiving. You know, you had your turkey sandwiches, your turkey a la kings, your turkey soups, your turkey on a stick, or whatever. You know how families do. You know, God bless everybody. I hope y'all had a nice Thanksgiving. I hope you had a pleasant Thanksgiving. But I have a bone to pick with the 12. I have a bone to pick with you. Why didn't you invite the professor? You know I love to eat. You can save a turkey, and you know, turkeys are big. I don't care about inflation. Don't blame Joe Biden for being selfish and not inviting the professor over to your house, because I'm a hungry motherfucker. But neither here nor there. That's a rant. That's a shoot, but it's a work shoot. But neither here nor there. But anyway, happy Thanksgiving hangover. Happy Survivor Series War Games hangover. You know, this, whether it's a couple of days or a week after, welcome to the PWR podcast here at the PWS Network of the Podbeans.com. And if this gets uploaded by 8-Track Brown, the slowest motherfucker out there, it will be on the YouTube network. But anyway, it is time to do what we do best. It is to go episodic, and before we go episodic, I must introduce myself because I am vain like that. I have a vanity complex, and I love it. I'll never let that one go, even for 2023, even my year, wishes. I'll still be vain like that. I am the most magnanimous one. I am the most scholarly one. But most importantly, I'm the most glorious one. The only objective man in this YWC punditry. The only objective man in this political spectrum. The only objective man that will give you down the line between WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan, no matter what in between. Your friend of mine, the Professor Chalbelo Cruz. And I'm not here alone celebrating this Thanksgiving hangover, this Survivor Series War Games hangover. I'm here with my brother from another mother, the conservative liberal, the liberal conservative, the man who got fatter over the holidays, Dr. freaking Stein himself, dum-dum doing idiots. He did not throw up these foods, I guarantee you that. It was in the stomach and it remained in the stomach until he had to take a shit. He's your friend of mine, Tommy Wonder. How are you doing? And happy Thanksgiving to you and your wonderlings and your dog and all that jazz.
Oh, that was nice. You even included Jack. Thank you. Happy Turkey Day to you as well. Listen, turkey is known for having the drug in it that puts your ass to sleep. And my record, I have gone to 4 different families' homes on Thanksgiving and was not nearly as tired as I am right now. And it whipped my ass this year. But it's a special day because not only do I have Big Ray's favorite thing to open, but I got this thing in the mail the other day, and I have to show you because you have to be. You remember the old LJN rubber wrestling dolls, right?
The mid-'80s LJN of
I can't
classics.
believe I called them dolls. Do you see this right here?
Hogan and Terry Funk. That's 1985 editions.
Okay, look at this. So what Mattel Creations did, hell, they made it where you can open the shit too. That's what's beautiful about it.
Well, for the reflection, I just want to say there is an era on the box. There is an era on the box of Hogan's belt. That the shape of the belt, the color was all black. It should have been green.
No,
So that's just the
no. I'm going to tell you you're wrong on this one, and I'm going to explain to you why. This right here, this is mind-blowing. Like, listen, if you're a toy collector like me and you struggle,
I remember the LJNs. Hogan had it was black with the gold. But I'm just saying for logistic purposes, Tommy. I understand.
Do you see this belt?
I remember that.
And belt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
It's
But it's still it's still logistically wrong. It should be green. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, because the belt he won from the Iron Sheik was green. But this this isn't for that. This is for, look at the packaging.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the back.
Mm-hmm. I know the Hogan one. I had the Hogan one. I had the Hogan one with the yellow.
Ready for this?
Mm-hmm. Well, it slides out.
I can take baths. I can open them up without ruining the packaging, and then check this little guy out. You see the little stand that says his name?
Mm-hmm.
Watch this.
Oh, you could put it on. You literally can put it on your wall. Oh, heads and
Heads
is that a middle finger or that's a dick?
It's number one. Remember when he always come to the ring? This blew my mind. And I'm not shy with the digits. This shit costs $70. That's $35 each. I can't remember if shipping was free. I don't think it was, but I don't remember. When I bought the Hasbro ones, I think I showed you them. They did the same thing with the old Hasbros. I bought 2 of them in case my good man Jeff from Impact Wrestling didn't get any. He didn't, and he didn't want the ones I got. So anyhow, I didn't buy 2 of these because I didn't want to spend $140. But
damn right.
Literally can close it right back up, and it's like you never opened it.
That's nice.
And in the box has like
they're being nice to the collectors. They're being nice to the.
This is a nod to the old school collector. And this Terry Funk figure here, right? They have a Mattel Legends Terry Funk. It's Jeff's Grail, if you will. A Grail is the figure that you're trying to find that you hope you find one day before it costs your firstborn. And that figure of Terry Funk, it should come down now because they made another version of it for this. But this is an Ultimate Edition, which is like the ones I showed Alexa Bliss last week. The one that has more points of articulation and all that stuff. Those also come out of the box and you can put them back in. But the moment we're all waiting for, the moment where you talked me into paying 12 months in advance and it cost me $500. Not
I talked you into this? No, I did not.
You should do it because you'll save $10 and $9 a month. It ends up where I get 2 boxes free. So I already got 3 of them I've opened, and here is number 4. And the best part is, I don't know shit about this box. I don't remember. Maybe it's Gargano again, or I don't know who's on it, but it's not Adam Cole. So we're going to go try to whip through this right quick so we can get to our review of our pay-per-view.
Hopefully you don't get a duplicate box. That doesn't happen. Hopefully not.
They'd be giving my damn money back.
Yeah. I'll let you know if you got a duplicate. I kind of remember the other boxes.
Oh, it's got a little Major Wrestling figure. I'm not going to look at the spoiler alert. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
First things first. Let's see what we got here. It's a T-shirt. In case you didn't notice, I'm wearing the Big Foley shirt in the last box because it's apropos of what we're doing here. You know I'm a fan. It's your twin brother.
Anthony Bowens?
Twin brother. I wish there'd been a little more pink and black involved, but whatever. I like these dudes. When their figures come out, I'm going to buy them. I'm going to open them up. It's the Acclaimed. A little purple and black tag.
Purple and gold. I think they're purple and gold in homage to the Lakers. I don't know if it's purple and black.
Oh, come on. I'm going to cry. Oh.
Uh-oh.
This was on the shirt, and I thought it was his shirt. Thank God it wasn't, and thank God I just got a T-shirt.
Evil Uno.
Oh, God. I thought it was one of them Pentos and Trios champions.
That's Dark Order Evil Uno.
This is awesome. It's going to make me cry, man. The Razor Ramon colors.
Nice.
Hall Memorial. I love it. That's good. That's. Oh, shit. This is timely. Oh, thank God again. Dodged another bullet. Can you imagine if I got this dude as a shirt? Mox.
Not bad. 3 for 3.
Dodged another bullet. The Young Sucks and Omega are the keychain. I like Omega though. Man.
You're not gonna use it. I know that. You're not gonna use that as your keychain, so you're gonna give that away.
Did Adam Cole end up? Who the fuck is this guy? That supposed to be Hangman?
That could be Jungle Boy.
Oh, this is Joey Janela, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Joey Janela, I think.
Tales from the Road. Story by Joey Janela. All right, so I got a Joey Janela. So here's
all right. One bad thing.
Not a chase.
Double J, Micro Brawler.
So guess what? He was supposed to have an Ultimate Edition figure coming out, and they canceled it because of him going to AEW. It's the first time they've canceled. Adam Cole's had 3 figures come out since he's been in AEW for WWE.
Well, you know, he left under certain circumstances, so you can't blame him, and WWE is doing what they can be petty too. So pettiness, both sides, at least for a little bit.
This feels heavy. It's not. Sometimes you get 2 pinups. Not bad. Little ode to the UWF.
You got Akeem on one box, and now you got a one-man gang, I think.
No, I got Warlord.
You sure you didn't get an Akeem on one of the early ones?
I got Lance Archer.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got him. Man, who the fuck?
I could have swore you got an Akeem on something, whether it was a picture or something, but you might have got, well, what, you need to hear no there, but not bad. Not bad for an unboxing.
You get 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Warlord. So, Warlord. Man, look at me. It's like it's Christmas down here. By myself, my own shit. Oh, well. We'll figure it out another time.
Christmas came early for the Wonder Man, so,
no,
you know.
So that's what it was. The box said next month there was going to be something from Akeem. Or one.
Oh, okay. That's why I had it in my head, like, you had an Akeem already. So I was like, oh, okay, we got both. So you're all set. So with that being said, are we happy with this unboxing, TW? Are you happy with the results?
The Scott Hall shirt and the Acclaim shirt makes it worth it. That's the bottom line. When at the end of the day, and these micro brawlers, because I got my 3 Garganos that came in the mail. I got my Harley Race. I got my Ric Flair. Now I got Jeff Jarrett. So at the very least, I got 11 more of those sons of bitches coming. I almost ordered the, look at this though. These, I got a Gargano pin and I got these jobbers. So these pins might up on the old eBay.
All right. Well,
stickers.
But you got to get your money back somehow, some way with all this. So with neither here nor there. But now with the unboxing, the unraveling, the unboxing done on TW side, I got to do what I do best for the Reflection Nights, for the Magnificent 7, for the Elite 8, for the 99, and do what we do best, go back on the nostalgia train, and we are going episodic. I think this is episode 161 or 162, but I think Big Ray will correct me if I know it or not. But it was apropos that since this is the Thanksgiving Hangover Edition TW, since this is the Survivor Series War Games Hangover Edition of the PWR podcast here at the PWR Network.com, I had to check. You know, Donna Destruction, shout out to him. You know, he tried to find all the past episodes of the PWR, and I remembered the link that he sent me. So I did a checklist of everything we did. And I realized certain shows that we did. And I noticed a pattern, the difference of the pattern between when Ray and Trav and you and I did it, and then when Ray gave me the keys to run this, you could
Right.
say, I ran this a tighter ship. And I noticed that some of the shows that we picked, it was out of loop. It was out of sync. I don't know why we did that, but neither here nor there. It was just, I kind of have that kind of OCD on this. But anyway, I had to make sure that we didn't do this, and we didn't. So it was, if the 12 who have followed us, like Donna Destruction, like Philip Scott Wood, if they follow us from Hameen to PW and back to Hameen and whatever, Big Vito, we never did this one. So I'm 100% sure, TW. So it was apropos Survivor Series Hangover.
So we've done something twice?
We've done Survivor Series. We've done the first one, and I think we did the second one. But we never delved into the 90s. We never delved into, we did 97. There was a reason to do that, of course.
Right.
But, we never really into the crust of the Attitude Era Survivor Series realm. So it was apropos to do Survivor Series 1998 Deadly Games from the St. Louis, Missouri, the Kiel Auditorium, the Kiel Center. And you know what? Two things that caught the professor's eye. Because if we turn, we always reflectionize, try to compare the past and to the present. And TW, you always know on social media right now, we keep abreast. Not because, we like you always say, you don't want to see them fail, but we always look at the numbers, the buy rates of AEW pay-per-views, and they kind of have the range of 130,000 buys to about 185,000, 190,000 buys, which is very respectable in considering it's a 3+ year old, wrestling organization. They have a loyal fan base, and if you do $50 times 180,000 buys, you get a couple of, you get some chunk of change back in your investment. This buy rate here, TW, caught my eye because, we will never, if AEW can have this buy rate, TW, I will get down on my knees and praise Allah if Tony Khan can do this. But do you know the buy rate of 1998 Deadly Game Survivor Series?
I don't even know what buy rates mean, so no.
Well, how many people bought the pay-per-view via on-demand, via Comcast, or whatever the case, Spectrum, whatever the case may be.
People bought it?
Yeah, how many people bought the pay-per-view? Give me a number.
1 million.
No, they ain't that good. They weren't that good. But the buy rate was a very respectable, in my eyes, for 1998 purposes, 400,800 buys.
So you're not setting the bar too high for Tony Khan. That's if 400,000 people bought it, that's times $60. That's some money.
Well, in 1998, I don't think they got up to the $50 range just yet. I think it was still in the 40s. It was still $40, $49.99. It was, and that was expensive. It was $39 to $49.99 in the 90s. In the 2000s, it wrenched up.
$10 would make $4 million. So you're making $16 million off of one show, and that's probably half your roster's yearly salary.
Could be.
WrestleMania.
And remember, it's a partnership between On Demand and WWE. But again, 400,000 buys is nothing to sneeze at, TW. So if Tony Khan can do this, I will bow down to him and say, you did something. If he can actually catch up to that number. But neither here nor there. I just wanted to give out the buy rate. But, TW, in our history of doing the reflection for 4+ years, it's been a great 4+ years runs. But I remember one episode that we eviscerated a Monday Night Raw, I believe from 1999. But we gave the positives and the negatives because I think we looked at it from the eyes of present day and the eyes of that year of the Attitude Era. And so to do 1998 Deadly Game Survivor Series, I have to do the 2020 Deuce eyes with the 1998 eyes because my 1998 eyes was loving wrestling because I had a plethora of options. I had a plethora to watch. Just like you and me, we are addicted to watching wrestling. I had WWE, I had WWE to watch. I had WCW to watch. And of course, if I'm a brand loyalist in 1998, you already know the brand that I'm loyal to. And that was
ECW.
Absolutely. But I had a plethora of options. So I'm happy no matter what. So like you said, if I just want to watch wrestling, I will enjoy it for what it is. But we got to look at it from the business aspect here right now, TW, because, of course, in the Monday Night Wars between WCW and WWE, looking at 1998 Deadly Games here, and I will get into the crust of something else, Reflection Nights, in a second, but I want to at least give the theme of this. Deadly Games, TW. This was the first Survivor Series in 1998. From 1987 to 1997, there was one common theme. There was always an elimination tag team match from 1987 to 1997. 1998 was the first Survivor Series that eliminated that. There was no elimination matches whatsoever. But if you want to keep the theme of Survivor, quote unquote, tournaments is the ultimate sense of survival, if you will. You got to, a one-night tournament. You got to wrestle 3 times in one night and ultimately survive to become the WWE champion. What say you about that? The theme changed here. Vince McMahon ditched his original concept that was created by himself and Pat Patterson to offer like that War Games, a theme, the eliminations, 5-on-1 match of survival, whatever. You know how the scenarios go. To just go into this gimmick right now. What say you?
I have zero memories of this. To answer your question objectively, I like it because only because it was for the title. If they would have just made it a tournament for no fucking reason, then I would have hated it that they changed it from, team Survivor Series to basically individual surviving a tournament. But it still fits the definition of who's going to survive, be the last man standing, blah, blah, blah. I don't remember the reasoning behind them not having a title or a champion. Is this Sean?
I can answer that question for you, TW. The Vince Russo-led writing team of himself and Ed Ferrara. During the year of 1998, of course, this was the Stone Cold era when he won it at WrestleMania against Shawn Michaels.
Right.
He had his wars with Undertaker. He had his wars with Kane. So one pay-per-view, I believe, before Survivor Series, he lost in a triple threat to Undertaker and Kane. But the controversy, quote unquote, is that it was a double pin. Kane both Brothers of Destruction pinned the shoulders of Austin. So there was no clear-cut winner. It was a tie. So Vince McMahon, doing the Monday Night Raw kind of entertainment booking, if you will, said, fuck it, nobody won. And, of course, this is where we went to. We got into a one-night tournament to crown an undisputed, I love that word, because every time a WWE tournament for a WWE championship, it will always become an undisputed WWE heavyweight champion. So I'm just trying to give you credence for what, your question is.
Okay, so there was storyline driven. Of course it wasn't Sean Austin Smile because Austin won the belt earlier this year, Sean retired. But I think at this time, this is the subjective way to respond, not objective, is I think I was protesting. I think I was still mad about Brett. And I think I just tuned them the fuck out. I mean, I remember Austin Michaels, but I don't remember much after that. I don't even remember the thing you're telling me where Taker and Kane, normally you're going to have a triple threat match and Kane's going to pin Undertaker. Undertaker's going to pin Kane to protect Austin so he loses the belt without losing. But you're telling me they both pinned him, which makes him look even worse, right? Like, you got beat by both of them motherfuckers, not just one. So when you were describing it as a double pin, I'm thinking, who did a belly-to-back suplex to who with Kane and Undertaker? Like they're both pinned. And then you say they both pinned Austin. I'm like, whoa. But at the end of the day, I like, and I'm going to tell you now because I told you it was something they did here that I absolutely loved and wished more pay-per-views did. My biggest complaint about pay-per-views, you're going to say it's the time. It's not the time directly. It's the reason why they end up being so long. It's literally an hour's worth of recapping everything that if you're watching this damn pay-per-view, you already know all that stuff anyway, right? So, if they're drawing 1 million people a week on Raw for free or 2 million and only 400,000 people are buying the pay-per-view, that means they're the diehard people who already know what's going on. this pay-per-view went by like a well-oiled machine. It was just match after match after match. There was maybe one or two backstage segments, but they pertained to the match. So it didn't feel, other than the fact that
you was happy with the flow of this pay-per-view.
Right. And it wasn't 10 minutes of telling me why Austin's wrestling or why Kane and Undertaker got a bye in the second round, which is a nod to the last time it was a tournament because of controversial, Andre gave up his belt and they said, no, you can't have it. They gave Hogan and Andre the bye so that they didn't have to be in the first round, but they fought each other. I thought that was a cool little head nod. They also screwed with Austin because he didn't get a bye. Because screw you, you lost to both of them. But my biggest problem with this pay-per-view is I think it was start to finish, it's fucking bull in a china shop all over the place. But the end result, I think they nailed, which was the swerve. I'm not going to give the swerve away, but I like how they portrayed Austin and Rock were the two guys that Vince did not want to win.
Right.
And it was almost like they were grooming it towards Mick Foley, who, by the way, is the unsung hero here because his reaction in the ring at the end, just sitting there like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? But my big problem with it is I think it was too soon, and I think that the WWE and Vince McMahon should thank their lucky stars that what they did to Brett didn't seal the deal for Monday Nitro to put Raw out of business. Somehow it went the other way around not long after that screw job. And so
I don't mean to cut you off. No, but what you said is profound because I want to say this right now before I lose my train of thought. You know how you're always on the Hustle fan page, you're on the social media. You know how people who are the wrestling fandom of social media, everybody thinks they know everything. But what is the one thing that people have said about WWE pay-per-views in the last couple of years? That it doesn't feel like a big pay-per-view. Right. I looked at this, and this is the 2022 eyes of the Professor Reflection Nights and TW. What you said, I want to translate this, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. You can agree, disagree, and retort back.
Yeah.
But Survivor Series 1998 felt like an overproduced, enhanced Monday Night Raw episode. I felt it was a filler, even though Survivor Series is a big-time event. It is one of the big four, along with Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and this. But the way Vince Russo directed the direction of people, the way this flow that you liked, I have no problem with the flow. It was fine with me. But the booking, the matches, and the overall, let's just say, direction and attention to one big storyline, we'll get into that, Reflection Nights, it just felt like tune into Raw to see where this goes. This didn't feel like a big-ass payoff until the end, which could be debatable. But to me, this just felt like an overproduced Raw. And I've said that for the last 5 to 10 years right now in the 2010s. I never thought that in the noughties. I never thought of that. And even in the early 2000s, TW, what say you about that? Do you feel like this was overproduced, Raw?
I feel like two things made it feel like a Raw. If I didn't feel that way, but if I did, two things that stood out to me that would make it feel episodic is it was too much Vince McMahon and the Stooges. It was almost like the Monday Night Raws where the APA's playing poker in the back with somebody, right? Like it was every fucking other match you went back to the poker game. Only here it was every match they went to Vince, and it was way too much Vince. But what it felt like to me, where it underdelivered as a pay-per-view, was it felt like a King of the Ring without the pomp and circumstance. Like the thing that I liked about it most is the thing that took away from it feeling bigger was it was just like business. Like these guys come out and the next two guys come out to wrestle and I know why you think it was because fucking Dwayne Gill and Dwayne Gill and
the Boss Man fought multiple times
are in the tournament, right? So it makes it feel like I was absolutely stunned that Al Snow beat Jeff Jarrett. Stunned. I was stunned to see Al was in the tournament. No offense to Al, but what reason in the world would Snow be?
Well, you said you was protesting a little bit. So I answered the Al Snow thing. This is 1998. Al Snow, I don't want to say resurrected his career, but because of the ECW, fandom, because of the gimmick of Head, this is why he was in the tournament.
Oh, he was
to ride that wave and to get a win. It wasn't surprising to the professor, even in the noughties. He was there for that reason. So I'm just answering your question.
He had connections to Foley, too. That was their shtick. And so him versus Foley was a match. Actually watching it, and this is why I said to you and JB and Ray when you guys were stunned that I'd never seen this, I'm like, this is right up my alley because it's a tournament. I have no fucking clue who wins what, right? Mm-hmm. So the whole time I'm watching it, I'm assuming the final is going to be Austin versus Rock, which would have made way more fucking sense for that swerve at the end. But it wouldn't have made sense for the theme of the night because it would have been, why would McMahon even want to be out there? Because the two guys he didn't want to win, one of them's going to win it. So I get why it wasn't them two in the final. But
I get why they weren't in the final because you were saving Austin and Rock for WrestleMania, so it would have made no sense to put them in the Survivor Series final. So that's just one thing.
Austin versus Boss Man, first round, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, there's two matches that stand out to me where wrestling's different in 1998 than it was in 1988 because Big Boss Man versus Austin looked like a regular match. And granted, Ray Traylor lost some weight at this point compared to how big he was in the 80s. But in the 80s, the match that Austin and Boss Man had here, there's no way they had that match in the 80s. In the 80s, it would have been punching and kicking and big slams.
And Ray using his weight to his advantage. And Austin
would have been the underdog. This was 50-50 booking. And then the other match that made me feel that way was Taker versus Rock. 2 years earlier, just 2 years prior to this, people were shaking in their boots when they were next to the Undertakers. They were afraid of him. He just seemed like another guy in there when he was in there with The Rock. Him and Kane, they're the same size, so you can get away with that. And obviously Rock's not that much smaller than him, but it was almost like the aura of the Undertaker, the fear. Like even the Warrior was hesitant. Like he was like, I'm gonna do it. But I might get my ass beat, but that's what Warriors do. We go in and see. But no one had fear towards The Undertaker on this show. But I do love how they protected him, how Rock got past him. And they were quick matches, so you, like you said, if you're saving it for WrestleMania or whatever. And to be fair, Undertaker lost that long before this show because he lost it when he was fighting Bret. Bret was never afraid of him, It's just weird how he went from being this guy everybody feared. Kamala was scared to death of him, would run out of the building because he was like, this is a real life boogeyman, right? So it's.
But again, I'm not gonna. I might have to defend it a little bit. But when you get to the Attitude Era, supposedly you're taking some sense of realism. So why am I going to be afraid of The Undertaker when he kind of broke?
Son of a bitch.
No. But why be afraid of The Undertaker when he broke kayfabe himself on certain Raws? So he already humanized himself.
Right.
So why should I be afraid of the aura?
And this isn't long before the biker version of him comes around, right?
2 years away from becoming the Undertaker biker gimmick.
Right.
So.
But I used to disagree with that decision. Mm-hmm. Watching this match made me understand why it had to happen because he's still dressing like Count Dracula, but no one's afraid of him like he did when he was Count Dracula. And he was and that's the other thing. Look at Kevin Nash as Diesel and look at Undertaker as Undertaker. They're the same fucking size. If anything, Diesel's probably bigger. And Diesel was afraid of the Undertaker, right? Like he just had that ambiance about
the
him.
Aura. He was afraid of the aura.
How do you kill someone that's already dead? I still think that's the dumbest gimmick in the history of the world. But at the end of the day, like, I love the Boogeyman. This motherfucker ate worms and he scared the shit out of people. That he wasn't supposed to be dead. He wasn't Candyman. You didn't have to say his name 3 times for him to appear. But Undertaker being sold as a dead man already, I hated it. It's probably why it took so long for me to get on the wagon to respect his ass, which is not his fault. You know, it's making lemonade out of lemons. He got that gimmick, and he's probably one of the most over characters of all time.
Absolutely. So
probably the most popular character of all time.
Top 10, no doubt. So neither way.
5.
So
top 10. What the fuck?
Hey, I'm being fair here. But anyway, I gave you credence to why we got to the tournament because of the controversy that happened between Austin, Undertaker, and Kane. So the theme of Deadly Games Reflection Nights is that the MVP, there's actually 2 MVPs. Africa is only 6% vaccinated and COVID has practically disappeared. Scientists baffled. Well, because they already have AIDS, so, neither here nor there. But
Too soon.
No, it ain't too soon. It's too accurate. But anyway, TW, the theme of the pay-per-view, and I'm going to say there's 2 MVPs here. You already talked about one, and that was Vince McMahon. We'll talk about Vince McMahon and his role in this tournament because we're not going to go match by match Reflection Nights. It's going to be boring, and that'll be a 5-hour show. We don't need to go into it. We'll cherry pick certain people because I want to analyze certain things because TW is going to have to answer his own Mandela effect here because when I looked at one match in particular, I was thinking about TW, but neither here nor there. Vince McMahon and the Stooges TW are MVPs, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I want to at least give credence to another MVP, and not because of this tournament itself, TW, but the writing and the booking is so similar because from 1998 to 2020 Deuce, Mankind, Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, whatever you want to call it, to try to cheer up Vincent Kennedy McMahon when, all the chips were down and his children betrayed him and, Austin is making his life miserable. Mick Foley is doing similar booking, is getting similar booking, just like a man right now in 2020 Deuce, your new favorite, Sami Zayn. While he was infiltrating the bloodline, he's Sammy Uso, he's the Oos man, he's feeling oozy. Mankind was feeling oozy in 1998 TW by trying to get into the good graces of Vince McMahon, and it was incredible booking. If we remember, like the hospital scene where he was, trying to cheer up Vince McMahon as with Socko and all that, the birth of Socko and all that TW. So the similarities between Mankind and Sammy Uso, Sami Zayn in 2020 Deuce is so parallel and paramount TW because people were cheering for Mankind, even though he wanted to align himself with the corporation. He wanted to align himself with Vince McMahon. And he was trying to impress Vince McMahon so much that in this tournament, he wrestled in a 3-piece suit, in a corporate suit. Of course, after each round, he kind of stripped himself off like a Chippendale stripper to get back into his in his normal wrestling attire. But neither here nor there, TW. But what say you? Mankind is what Sammy Uso is today, TW. The crowd was behind him. And, in hindsight, it made all the sense in the world. And like you talked about in past PWR episodes, you've been championing, you've been politicking yourself for saying Sammy Uso is the perfect man to defeat Roman Reigns. Hindsight is there, TW. We've seen it. It's right here. It's Exhibit A. Mankind's booking in 1998 galvanized himself in 1999 to become multiple-time WWE heavyweight champion with his wars
and the
with
catalyst for the pendulum shifting on the Monday Night War that ended up putting WCW out of business. And he was one of those guys that did dirty by WCW. Like him in Austin?
Right.
Yeah, so it's fitting. And it's funny because that's the other thing is I'm so unfamiliar with this pay-per-view that I'm like, almost everyone in this motherfucker is in the corporate ministry. Fucking Ken Shamrock, Boss Man, Undertaker, Kane.
Not Shamrock. He's not in the ministry.
Shamrock was with McMahon at some point.
99.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. My timeline's so messed up. I don't know when what is what. So I'm sitting there thinking Shamrock's a babyface, and then he peels through Goldust, who must have been a face at that point, and I thought he was the heel. But then when Shamrock was in there with The Rock was tweener, And everyone was basically a tweener in 1998. They were all whatever. And
they blurred. The shades of gray. You're right. The shades of gray was apropos in WCW and WWE and ECW. So everybody had a shades of gray.
Who they liked, and there were just so many people. Everybody had some noise being made, and I still think Scott Hall and Ken Shamrock are the two biggest pops of anybody on such.
It's funny you say that right now, and I look at this pay-per-view here, TW. I don't want to call you out, but you got to name where you saw Shamrock pop.
I was about to. He's a heel. That's why.
Mm-hmm. He's not a heel. He's not a heel. He's a face.
Saturday Morning Superstars, when they came out to the ring to wrestle the jobber, those audiences used to be like the wave. They would jump up. And
those were piped in noises. If that's the pop you heard.
But piped in or not piped in, the two guys that had the biggest pops for me every Saturday morning were Razor Ramon and Ken Shamrock.
Oh,
and remember when Shamrock took the chair to the head like 72 times from The Rock? Right there, that moment, from that point on, that dude was over.
He was over, but they cheered for The Rock doing it first. That's why I'm laughing, because if you're using Saturday morning as your exhibit of pops,
but why would they pipe it in for everybody else?
They've always piped it.
And we're talking two different eras. Like,
I know that. I'm just
Razor Ramon's getting those pops in 92, 93.
Ramon, I'll give you Ramon. I'll give you Ramon because pay-per-views I heard pops for Ramon. WrestleMania 10, I heard it. SummerSlams, I've heard it for Ramon. The only pop I heard for Ken Shamrock is his debut. You could say his debut at WrestleMania 13 when he was the referee. I'll give you that pop for mystique and curiosity, and that's a big deal from coming from UFC or just mixed martial arts. I will give you that. I say that
before he did all that too. So was Severin. But
no, I'll give you that. I heard crickets. I heard crickets for Shamrock
because he was a fucking heel at this point.
He wasn't a heel. He was a tweener.
There's matches where he wrestles guys and he does the thing before he does that ankle lock. There's matches in this match with the Goldust, when he hooks that ankle lock, the crowd pops when he puts him in the ankle lock. So, and that's with him being a tweener at that point.
Well, the move could get pops, but that doesn't mean anything. But I'm just saying.
I didn't say they had the two biggest pops of all time. I said they had the two biggest pops for people that never got the world title, ever.
No. But I lean towards more Razor than Shamrock. But TN Couponer, Josh, if this gets uploaded, you got a mission. Find me legit pops for Ken Shamrock and not Saturday Morning Superstars. I want Raws. I want a pay-per-view, not WrestleMania 13, Josh. I want another pay-per-view. Just give me the proof. I want proof. And if Josh gives us the proof, I will bow down to you. But this pay-per-view here, I was like, and even Jerry Lawler during the pay-per-view TW said people were starting to chant Shamrock sucks, and they were building Shamrock winning the IC title. They were building Shamrock winning King of the Ring. So, if he got too much too fast, that's neither here nor there. That's the nature of the beast of the fans.
He got
the nature of the beast.
Kurt Angle got. He got the same thing Roman Reigns got. Same thing Rocky got. When you feel like you're being force-fed something, this is the dawn of the internet. And that's when these fucking tape traders become more vocal and they become fucking nerds.
Again, it's the nature of the beast. That's what I'm just saying. I just want Josh to give me the authentic one, and I want to hear it. Josh, you got a homework.
Wasn't Shamrock on the team against Brett?
Yes.
Wasn't it Austin, Shamrock, Ahmed, and the Road Warriors?
Austin, Shamrock, Goldust, and the Road Warriors against the Hart Foundation.
It was Ahmed.
Trust the professor. Calgary Stampede, I know that in your house.
No. Well. The whole feud. Wasn't Ahmed part of the feud too?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, wow. I thought he was part of the feud.
Like you said, you was protesting because you was a Bret Hart mark. But neither here nor there. I just wanted to throw that out here. So reflection, that's again, we focus on Shamrock.
This is in the news recently.
What's that?
Specifically for this pay-per-view, Shamrock said recently in an interview that he thinks his push got backburnered because he was too close to Bret Hart. Like, he didn't have heat because he was friends with Bret Hart. But once that Calgary shit went down, he said his push just went right after that. And so he's also not being pushed as hard as he was being pushed before. And I can't remember, how did he lose? Oh, the Billy Club. The Boss Man threw the Billy Club to The Rock, but tried to make it like he was throwing it to...
Well, the define push, like, was he promised the heavyweight title run? Again, then you're right. But to get an IC belt reign, to get a King of the Ring win in 98, that's pushing you somewhere. So I can't. That's a he says, she says thing. So.
He said...
No, I'm not saying he's wrong. You're right. I mean, that's politics. That's politics.
He said all that happened in Survivor Series, but he says the King of the Ring was already booked. Like, he already knew he was winning that King of the Ring, and he goes, and once that happened, he said he felt from that point on, he was kind of just there. He obviously had the IC belt, but I don't know how long he had it.
But again, for Reflections, you know how we do with the Survivor Series. We have to at least correlate a lot of stuff that happened even before this. But for Shamrock purposes, there was somebody who's galvanizing himself. So we can talk about this right now, in a sense, because I want to combine the two TW. The theme of Deadly Games Reflection Nights for this tournament was Vince McMahon, the Stooges, Sergeant Slaughter, Commissioner Slaughter, Pat Patterson, and Gerald Briscoe. You got Big Boss Man, the original Shield member, because look at that garb that he was wearing. So, but
he wore his gear.
But there was another guy that was galvanizing his popularity, that was galvanizing, his time in the spotlight, if you will. And we got to talk about it right now, TW, and that was The Rock. So whatever Ken Shamrock said that he was promised or whatever, I'm not saying he's lying. But there's a reason why, as the old saying goes, plans change. And people were noticing, and Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson was noticing, that a young upstart that was in the Nation of Domination as kind of like a filler to help Farouk and D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry and the Godfather, he shined. And there was no choice for Vince McMahon to separate himself from the Nation of Domination, let him speak, let him, express himself, as the Attitude Era is all about expressing your inner character, your realest character, and that was Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. So you're right. Whatever Ken Shamrock said, I'm not saying he's a liar, but we have to talk about The Rock. Let's talk about The Rock and just focus on The Rock, because Vince McMahon said in this Deadly Games tournament, his mission was to not have Stone Cold Steve Austin, A, in the finals, and B, win the title. And he also said that he did not want The Rock to win because he picked Mankind to be the corporate champion. But before the tournament, and you notice these little things, The Rock galvanized himself with his promos. He galvanized himself with the people's eyebrow. He galvanized himself with the people's elbow and all that, TW. So what say you? I mean, like you said with Shamrock, but I want to we have to at least acknowledge The Rock, the uprising, the uprising stardom that was The Rock. What say you about The Rock?
Real quick, Shamrock isn't saying they stopped pushing him. He's saying things felt different, is what he was saying. Like,
but I'm saying it felt different because he could see the atmosphere, and that was The Rock. You can't deny that.
He said when Bret was there and everything was good, he felt like rah rah shish kumbah, and then when Bret was gone, he felt like a man on an island. Like, fuck, they associated him with being a Bret guy, and all of a sudden he's not as popular with the boys, or not necessarily the boys, but the back. But yeah, the Rock was coming along, and this is another thing that helps to watch old wrestling back, is because at one point Rock and Austin were 1 and 1A as the most popular guys on the fucking planet, regardless of wrestling, just in life, right? And they had to turn one bad at all times. They would alternate those guys. Austin would be with Vince, Rock would be with Vince. But this one, it almost was the whole show. The fans and The Rock were almost awkward towards one of each other, right? Like The Rock wanted to address them. They wanted to cheer for him, but both of them were still a little hesitant, right? And then when he turned, I think him turning here is what inevitably made him even more popular than he would have been if he hadn't done it. because he was on his way to becoming popular, but by doing that almost there, fuck you, and then turning bad guy so soon. Like, he wasn't really good long, if he was good at all, but then, bam, now he's with McMahon, the most hated guy on the planet.
I would say in 1998 TW, to answer that question, he was good for maybe 2 months, give or take. He was a tweener.
MJF now, right? Yeah. Like, don't let him get good, because once he's good, that's what he's going to be. Let's milk it for a little bit, and then they're really going to make him want some more. Like, we like the glimpse of the good Rock. We want it, but fuck, he's back with Vince.
Let me ask you this question. Again, this is hindsight right now. This is not a what if reflection, but we have to at least look at it from a hindsight. You said it was kind of quick how they turned him heel again.
Right.
So looking at it from this variable, we know that the money train is Stone Cold Steve Austin. The proof is in the pudding. The shirts, the 316s was up there with NWO shirts. It probably eclipsed it and the DX stuff, but Austin 316 shirts were number one, no matter what. Like you said, everybody was wearing an Austin 316 shirt. So Vince McMahon was not going to derail that money train. But he was going by the old philosophy, like, don't derail like Hulkamania, no matter if somebody else is coming up. So do you think that Vince McMahon had to derail The Rock's popularity to a degree because he wanted to milk the Austin train more just to see where it was going? Not about his physical well-being, because that didn't really become an issue until 99 with his neck. The neck problems getting worse. He was kind of relatively healthy. It was the knees. It was mostly his knees, but he was relatively healthy. So he did not want, he kind of went back to his old Hogan days, protect Hogan no matter who was coming up. So this is the same. This is like, deja vu all over again to me. What say you?
You're part right. Part I disagree with is I think they didn't need The Rock to be it yet. They were saving it. Because if you put him out there and he blows up, then you're either going to lose Austin because it's going to take away from some of his, or now what do you do when Austin's done, just The Rock's there, who's coming up behind them? I think it was Shamrock, but they just, like I said, they let fans get a taste of it, but not all of it. So, like a tease, I tell you all the time, they would tease in house shows to see. That's how Luger and Scott Hall became baby faces within weeks of each other, because they did that little experiment live, and the crowds were split. Half the crowd liked Lex, half the crowd liked Razor when they were full-on bad guys. So you're just testing the waters, and I think they saw that The Rock was going to have that potential, and then they're like, all right, let's ride out Austin a little bit longer, build up to the rivalry. There's nothing worse. If Hogan Warrior proved anything, if Rock Hogan proved anything, there's nothing worse than making fans pick between their two favorite guys. They'd rather see you two teaming against two people they hate than fighting each other, because then they got like me, Warrior versus Savage. In the end, I was like, fuck you, Savage. I don't want Warrior to retire. I'm cheering for him, right? But those are my fucking two guys at that moment. And I'm like, man, I don't want either one of them to be done. And then, what do you do? But that match was heel face. So, but imagine it being two baby faces where your entire fucking fan base loves both of them. Now you're making them choose between the two. The worst thing they did was Hogan versus Warrior was he beat him clean. That was good. But then to have Hogan disappear and then come back and sabotage him, like Warrior never got a fair shake. The way they did this,
I'm not disputing your chronology. I know the chronology. I'm just saying for this aspect, it kind of feels deja vu to protect Austin.
I don't think it was to hold Rock back. I think it was to preserve him.
Okay. Because again, maybe people might feel like, he got shafted a little bit. Like, why are you going to turn Rock heel? Why don't, again, in 2022 ISTW, you know this. You know how people will, let me just say this and then hold your thought. In 2022, the marks will say, why are you going to turn Rock heel? He's got the momentum. He's got all this stuff. He's got the shirts. Probably, The Rock, smell what The Rock is cooking, can what's even called it? You can maximize Rock. He could probably eclipse Rock T-shirts with Austin 316. People said that with John Cena. Like, Vince McMahon was holding other people back because you wanted to protect John Cena. You wanted to protect Roman Reigns as the number one merch. I'm just saying it's deja vu. You're just trying to protect. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I just want to give that variable here.
I could see where you'd see that, but what I'm saying is here's the two reasons. One, Vince is your number one bad guy. That's not going to last long, right? So you need a number one heel, right? And two, you want someone that's going to have fucking good matches with Austin. It ain't going to be Vince. It's not going to be Shane. It's going to be another guy, the caliber of him, and it's going to be The Rock. Like, I don't think anyone's ever going to complain about Rock versus Austin matches.
Oh, hell no. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, but I'm just looking at it from the business aspect.
With one heel, one face. So if you're asking me, which one do you turn heel, it's fucking 100% Rock, because he hasn't even tipped the iceberg yet. If you turn Austin, you just fucking sabotage whatever was left in the gas tank of ticket sales and T-shirt sales. This guy was setting fucking records just in T-shirts. His cut was $25,000 a month in T-shirts. That's insanity.
It's insanity, but that's why I'm just saying that you got to protect the gravy train, just like he thought to protect Hulkamania, to a degree.
That's where I disagree with your term. I don't think it's protecting. I think it's milking. I think you're milking the gravy train because inevitably he turned heel and then he turned face again and sold fucking more T-shirts, right? Then he started selling what T-shirts after that?
But I think the difference between, like you say, it's milking whatever. I think the difference was, in hindsight, Austin's health deteriorated and you had backup in The Rock. Like you said, preserving The Rock to become
how far away are we from Angle coming? 2000?
He technically was in the WWE system in '98 in the southern region, the Jerry Lawler territory. Then he came up in '99 and all that stuff.
So '99, now you have the guy who you're coming out as a babyface, but then he ends up being your top heel and Rock's a babyface, right? So I think it all works out like a well-oiled machine. Like, yeah, hindsight's easy to say that. Maybe in the moment we were second-guessing things, but I think the Austin, Rock, and Angle runs lasted as long as they did, lasted as long as they could, because they were turning the right guy heel and the right guy face at the right time. Who did Cena have to do that with? Orton's already been a bad guy and good guy fucking 972 times, so he was never ever going to reach.
You counted exactly? Okay,
he was there was the only guy who could possibly fucking get up in Cena's fucking popularity, fucking quit and went to Impact, and it was Angle. So who else is it? JBL? He is a fucking quintessential bad guy. Brock Lesnar, quintessential bad guy. Because you know what Brock's missing? That Cena, Rock, Austin, and Hogan all had? Charisma. Mouth. He don't have no fucking mouth skills. So you got to have him with a guy like Heyman, who automatically makes you look like a bad guy. Even if you're a good guy, like the few fucks that had Captain Lou Albano in their corner. But even as a kid, I remember thinking, why did that? None of the other good guys, and I didn't think of them as good guys and bad guys. I just know Killer Bees didn't have no manager. Only the people that had managers were bad guys. So I think I always watched the Bulldogs and Albano with one eye fucking on him, thinking, don't be a bad guy like the rest of these cheaters, But at the end of the day,
you're right. I'm just saying, but the stars aligned in terms of Austin and The Rock because it worked out because of the health issues. So you had backup.
I would say Austin and Rock are like, some people might compare Warrior and Hogan to it. I don't, because Hogan fucked that up by doing what he did and taking the belt off Warrior, and Warrior never even sniffed it again, right? Rock and Shawn and Brett weren't 1 and 1A for popularity. One was the bad guy, one was the good guy at all times. They swapped. They did a double turn that made Shawn a good guy and Brett a bad guy, with that whole shit with the wheelchair and DX and all that stuff. It was well done. If fucking what's his name? If Russo had that, if he's behind that, that's some fucking top-notch work, because it was getting me fucking mad. I'm like, you motherfuckers are making Brett look bad. And I'm like, duh, it was the point, right? So, but Rock and Austin were faces together. They were heels together. They were separately heels and faces, and they just carried the fucking flag together, right? Most every other era, there's Dusty and Flair. There's Hogan and Macho Man. He would be the bad guy when he was a good guy. Wasn't long. And then, of course, Hogan fucking stole his shit, too. Man, you're going to make me not like Hogan after this fucking episode. But you know what?
What? My goodness.
Hogan protected himself. Piper's no different. The only difference is Piper didn't do it with a belt. Hogan did it with a belt.
Wrestling is politics, TW, and Reflection Nights. It's always, it always has and always will be.
It's realer in the locker room than it is in the ring. So it's cutthroat. It's fucking, there's a reason. It's
wrestling is no different than Washington politics. With that being said, TW, let's look at certain things here. I want to at least acknowledge, TW, the pops. We already acknowledged to me, I said Ken Shamrock didn't get a pop, but certain people got pops. And I want to say one thing, TW, with a tournament, a one-night tournament. And this happened in even 1988's WrestleMania 4, even with Macho Man. Let me ask you this question. You say you love tournaments. What?
I still haven't seen WrestleMania 4.
Oh, God, what is wrong with you? But anyway, neither here nor there. But since you at least see this tournament, talk about the crowd here a little bit, because do you feel that there was the crowd kind of got burned out by seeing The Rock a couple of times, seeing Mankind a couple of times, seeing Austin a couple of times, seeing Vince McMahon a couple of times?
And the pace of it. It was boom, 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 boom. Mm-hmm.
But the crowd wasn't like, it wasn't a Monday Night Raw Attitude Era crowd that they were, going crazy over it. I think that, to me, there was kind of fatigue if you saw what I saw.
I think the match that the crowd stood out to most to me, which would give credence to what you're saying because they never stood out to me again, was Austin Boss Man. And I think that was the first fucking match. If it wasn't the first, it was one of them.
It was the second match after Mankind and Dwayne Gill.
Yes. I think the crowd was hot, and I had my usual, why can't crowds be like that again? That's the thing. If I could be serious for a second, with I was going at it with, what was her name, Darcy, on the thing, on the podcast page or the Hustle page, about how the last AEW pay-per-view had 7 out of 10 matches were for belts. And I purposely put, they are the personification of the participation trophy era. You get a belt, you get a belt, you get a belt.
I chimed in to you. I said, I don't mind that there's belts, just as long as there's credible contenders and makes sense.
Here's the 2 times they have made Ring of Honor belts look worthless. Last pay-per-view, Saturday, whatever the fucking
Full Gear. It was called Full Gear.
Samoa Joe already has the Ring of Honor TV title. And he's wrestling for the secondary title for AEW. So it throws your fucking separate rosters out the window, and it makes it look like his belt means fucking nothing because he'd rather have this belt. And the one that made even worse of that was Cesaro was the Ring of Honor World Champion and was wrestling for the AEW World title in, I don't know, was it for the world title? He was wrestling somebody? Or
he never challenged for the AEW title.
He was in a tournament. He was in a tournament or a battle royal to try to become the contender for it.
Battle royal.
Yeah. So why would you be in that why would you be in that battle royal if you were happy being the Ring of Honor World Champion? Don't tell me, hey, he finally got his world title, and then he just throws it in the sock drawer because he wants to do this battle royal so you can get the real world title, the AEW one. And that's my problem with it. And Darcy said they only had 8 belts. They have 11, not counting the FTR or whatever, the FTW. Not counting that ring that MJF won, not counting the casino chip that everyone carries around when they win that, not counting the belt they gave Adam Cole and the belt they gave Britt for
the Owen Hart Classic belt.
So I'm sure everyone's getting a belt every year for winning that one. I'm not even counting those, and they have 11 titles on 3 hours of TV and a 3-hour pay-per-view. And sometimes UFC might have a fight night where there's every match is a lightweight, but they're different weight classes. There's title matches. That's great. That's a super fight. But what I'm saying is there's so many belts there. And then you got the FTR. I didn't even count the fucking IWGP in the the AAA belts that they wear out with their Ring of Honor belts when they go to the ring. So
they defended that on AEW television a time or two too.
Yes, and so it makes them all feel worthless. Remember, when we were kids, man. We couldn't get a Hogan match. We were fucking happy to get an IC title match, right? You didn't get both of them unless it was WrestleMania or one of the big four, right? So now, and they trade hands so often, they have no value to me. And it's not me criticizing them because I want them to fail. I don't. I'm saying stuff that I wish they'd stop doing so they wouldn't be criticized. But my problem is the fan base. That, at the end of the day, is why I wrote what I wrote about participation trophy. And at the end of the day, but I forget, I went on this damn tirade. It was something to do with this show that we're watching here, but it's just, I just don't.
In essence, TW, you have, especially for 1998 and the Deadly Games here, the whole 98, the Austin era began in WrestleMania, and then he conveniently loses it 2 to 3 months later. I think it was King of the Ring. Then he gets it back the night after. So we never had there was never really an Austin era with the belt. So you're right. This is the philosophy, if you will, of who Reflectionites, and I'm not trying to, sandbag him, but Vince Russo's philosophy was, this is just a prop, and we're going to use this as a, credence for an angle, as a storyline. And look at this. We went from WrestleMania payoff, and Austin's dream of becoming the heavyweight champion came true, and then that's March.
Hot potato.
This is November, and this is a hot potato to get to The Rock to do this. This is Vince Russo philosophy.
Was that Rock's first win?
First title win? Yes.
Yeah.
But what you're saying with participation trophy...
I got to say this because
okay,
this entire show, this entire match, The Rock has never looked more black to me than he did on this pay-per-view, right? Like, he normally looks mixed, Samoan, whatever the fuck. He looked like a black dude because I don't know if he was tanning on top of the shit. He was just darker than ever.
Oh, okay. I'm like, where?
Hogan 88.
Did he wrestle like Bad News Brown? I don't get where you're going.
I don't mean mannerisms. I mean, physically, this is the darkest he ever looked. It sucks that was his first title win because it almost is tainted, right? Like
expound on that. That is tainted.
They legitimately had him he gave a look to Vince, put Mick Foley in the sharpshooter. He rang the bell exactly like he did in Montreal. And it was like I said, to me, not only do you feel things like too soon, and by the way, never would fucking be too soon, right? If you never do it, it's too soon, because that's a black mark on wrestling history for me, right? Whether you want to blame Brett for not wanting to do the business or the honors or whatever. I mean, if you don't understand why he didn't want to do it to Shawn of all people at that point in his life, then you'll never fucking side with Brett, right? The fact that it was in
Montreal. I'm going to have to push back a little bit. Let me just say this, and this is not a defense. This is just, I just want to give a little latitude here. I have no problem with Vince McMahon copying this shit of the ring thing, because you have to acknowledge it. You have to let the fans roll with it, and then you have to play along with it, because the fans actually love this because they hated it. It fed the hatred towards Vince McMahon, and it drew money. But I want to say this. Okay. WCW did it first. Starrcade 97
with Brett.
They did it with Brett, and they thought it was the ha moment to Vince McMahon, and they never capitalized. They thought one night of Starrcade, and that was enough, and we can move on. Vince McMahon is shrewd enough that he kept going with it. He kept playing along with it because the fans needed to hear it.
Two things. Bischoff fucked up by doing that. I get it. Brett comes out to save the day because we're not going to have that happen again. I get it. But it looks like a copycat. And now because Vince does it again exactly at the same show exactly 1 year later, it looks like the whole thing was a work. So I get it. But for me, as a guy who was fucking rubbed the wrong way by the shit.
No. Your fandom makes you have that feeling. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm just giving credence that it was already done by one side first.
Why Bischoff dropped the ball and Vince didn't. Because Vince doing it again makes it like, well, shit, maybe he was his storyline last year too. Maybe Brett didn't get screwed, right? Because he's using the same terms. He's doing whatever. Plus, Brett does it in Canada, in WCW, might as well be Canada. He does it in WCW. So now those two things are probably Exhibit A and Exhibit B of why a lot of fans think Brett was in on it. Brett was not fucking in on it. There's no way in hell Brett was in on it because there's no way he sabotages the next 10 years of his life being pissed off about something if he was part of it. Because he just makes him look stupid if it ever comes out that he was, right? So, but at the end of the day, I'm getting back to The Rock. This is what I mean by it's tainted. A, he wins it that way, and B, he doesn't even get to celebrate it. If you had your choice as a black man, would you want your first title win? And Kofi's never got a second one, right? He's only had one.
Yeah.
Would you want your fucking world title win, your very first ever world title? Would you rather it be the way Kofi got it or the way The Rock got it? Like The Rock quietly made history. And you know what other thing struck my mind? You know who was the women's champ that same night?
Jacqueline.
So we had a black female world champion in the WWE before a male, which is pretty fucking harder odds. They're way harder odds. I mean, what has there been, like fucking 5 black women in wrestling history in the WWF? And that's just off the top of my head, and fucking 4 of them around now. So I'm talking like, you know what I mean? Like, that was a pretty significant thing for her. And Rock got nothing out of it. And then you have people today, and this is why I'm bringing it up, you have people today who don't count him. And that to me, that's unfair. Because that dude, on top of the fucking first black lineage, he's also the first Samoan. And the Samoans been around wrestling forever.
To answer your question on a personal scale, I would want it the way Kofi had it because Kofi he celebrated with his kids. I don't know if Rock had kids at that time. Maybe, but he had his girlfriend or fiance at the time, so he didn't have kids. So maybe what you're saying, it felt tainted, but with no kids, I can do what The Rock did. I would want the pomp and circumstance. I would want the way Benoit won his. I would want the way Eddie won his. I would want the way Shawn Michaels won his. And but wait. But in a perfect world, again, like I said, what was 1998 for Vince Russo's philosophy? The belt was a prop. The belt was an angle to move along the chains of the story. And again, the chain was that he would he would drop the title literally a month later to Mankind. And like you said, it tipped the scales of the Monday Night Wars. So again, this is all hindsight. I get what you're saying.
And it was tape. It wasn't even live.
Well, it wasn't even. You're right.
Triple H was the Jericho one. That was a fucking huge pop. When Jericho beat Triple H and then they took it away.
But again, with the pomp and circumstances, but the circumstances is Vince Russo's philosophy. You couldn't get the pomp and circumstances. You couldn't get the payoff. Austin got the proverbial payoff winning the title at WrestleMania. That's probably the only thing you could do.
This is what I'm going to say it like. When The Rock got the belt, he threw it over his shoulder. I think Vince gave it to him. It almost looked like The Rock didn't care. My very first wrestling win ever was my second night in the wrestling business. I lost the first night to Rico. The next night they decided they were going to put a belt on us so that the next town would be for the belt. So I beat him as a bad guy, cheated, and I fucking rolled out of the ring. And ironically enough, I did what Stone Cold Steve Austin did after he won the U.S. title. I jumped up in the air 3 times, dropped to one knee, kissed my bicep, and then took the belt from the referee. But my point is, I celebrated it. The Rock didn't even celebrate winning the world title. It looked like just another fucking moment. In your words, it looked like a fucking another Monday Night Raw. He's just in the ring fucking sitting for the belt. I just think deep down, this dude's probably going, holy fuck, I just won the world fucking title. My dad didn't, my grandpa didn't, my cousins didn't, my uncles didn't, and I'm the fucking WWF world champion.
Well, his cousin did. Yokozuna is his cousin, so he got to at least celebrate it.
Oh, then he's not the first Samoan. Then. Yeah. Okay, he's the second Samoan.
So that's with neither hidden. Yeah, that's the real lineage of the bloodline. He's part of it. Let me before we even like close out, because I want to put a bow on the tournament. But you said something about Jacqueline, but I wanted to at least give credence on it. One of the loudest pops of the night wasn't even during the tournament. The beginning of the tournament had their lineage pops, but there was one pop that came out that was very surprising. But again, you got a lot of horny men, 18 to 34 demographic, and I got to at least give credence to that. And that was Sable. Sable Mania was no joke. And again, horny men, TW, love it's a visual thing. And Jacqueline's, is no doll herself. She was hot too. She had the big titties too. So let's not give, you got chocolate and you got vanilla all roll up into one match. But again, let me try to be nice here. Well, I'm going to be real. I got to be objective because I'm the most objective man. You know that in hindsight, Sable was using wrestling to fuel her maybe modeling career, maybe her acting career. Jacqueline was committed to wrestling. We know this. So there's a
dudes before girls wrestled dudes.
Right. She was doing intergender wrestling before intergender wrestling was actually cool. Jacqueline was like Fabulous Moolah, was like Mae Young. They were fighting dudes because they had no choice. Right. But Sable was there to launch her modeling career. Sable was there to launch her acting career. And Vince McMahon kind of pimped her out because, again, that's a gravy train. And, you think that she's trying to cater to a female demographic. No. She was there to cater to horny 18 to 34-year-old demographic. So what say you about the pop of Sable? It wasn't no girl pop. It was the man pop. It was a man pop. It was I'll call it the virgin pop. That's what she got.
I will say this about Sable. I don't know if she's underrated, but I think for someone who, she's the anti-Stacy Keibler. Stacy Keibler came there because to her it was no different than getting a role in Hollywood or whatever, right? She clearly did not have a love for the business because she's never even fucking sniffed it since, she dated George Clooney. She's never come back for one of them Royal Rumbles, has she?
No.
So she hasn't even...
Wait, you're saying Stacy or Sable?
Stacy Keibler.
Stacy, maybe she might have been backstage at the 2018 Women's Royal Rumble. I'm not too sure.
Because I almost feel like she didn't even keep touch with motherfuckers, right? Sable went out there. She talked the talk. She walked the walk. She did the Sable Bomb. I think she did fucking Frankenstein there. She was...
she did the Mark Merrow move, too. She did what was called a TKO. So she kind of did like a... She did that move, too.
She was Becky Lynch, raw. Before Becky Lynch is someone who grew up wanting to be a wrestler. This chick was like, "Fucking give me the ball, I'm gonna do it."
You got more respect for Sable than I anticipated because, like I said, I think she used it as a vehicle like Goldberg because you wanted more.
But see, that's the difference with her and Goldberg. What the fuck did Goldberg really do? He didn't fucking talk. He did it was garbage. He did the same fucking 3 moves. He fucking won all squash matches. He won me over by coming back because he wanted his fucking kid to see him wrestle. And that's something I can absolutely relate to, right? And I think he's done way more in these years where people said, hang him up. He's done way more. And this is Bret Hart's #1 fan saying this shit about Goldberg. So, but to me, Goldberg didn't do anything. They did it for him. Sable tried to talk the talk, walk the walk, and I think succeeded in doing it. I think Sunny did. She didn't wrestle, but she fit in. She didn't look like someone who just fucking stood there and looked good because there's plenty of them. And Stacy Keibler, and I don't mean to shit all over Keibler. I bought her action figure last week, but because it was $5 on clearance. But at the end of the day, you can tell who's in it for the long run and who's not, who's in it for the paycheck. And Sable wasn't there long. It sucks. I don't know what the fuck.
She wasn't there long because she wanted more money. So that's very documented.
And then what did she get out of it? She got Brock Lesnar. So I don't know how the hell she went from Mark Merrow to Brock Lesnar. Mark Merrow is at least his public persona. I actually haven't seen him on Twitter in a while, but I really try to stay away from that fucking place. But Mark Merrow seems like a fucking awesome human being. And I think I even saw an interview once where Sable was brought up. He didn't have nothing bad to say about her. You know, I don't know if she cheated on him with Brock and then left him for Brock, because I feel like that's two different eras. I don't feel like Mero and Brock were there at the same time.
No, they weren't there at the same time, but I think the cheating happened within the timelines too. Neither here nor there.
With Brock?
Yeah.
Like down in OVW and she's training or something?
But I don't know if it was like while they were together, but you know how you're separated, you're on a break?
Yeah.
So that's probably what happened. So neither here nor there. So
hey,
I'm actually shocked that
they're still together, and I think they got kids together, Brock and her.
Yeah.
So, you know,
yeah, Brock and Sable got kids.
Sometimes it's an unorthodox fucking road to fucking happiness, you know, and it's, you know, obviously we got to fucking deal with our own fucking guilty conscience and faith, but they're still together. So to me, it gives credence to maybe it wasn't them that brought them two together. Maybe it was fate. But regardless, why are we talking about some people that ain't even Sable, to me, she pulled a warrior. She's the girl warrior. She fucking held him up for more money, didn't get it, and then he's like, fuck you, watch what I do with these next two bitches. And people talk about Trish Stratus and Lita way more than they talk about Sable. But the greatest sign in the history of pro wrestling ever is Sable pull my cable, or Sable tug my cable front row on a Monday Night Raw or pay-per-view. That just tells you right there that what you're saying is 100% fact. The fucking dudes with their tongues on the floor that if they weren't at wrestling, they'd be at a strip club if they could afford it, were the ones going banana for her.
Like I said, I'm not denying that she brought in that demographic, horny demographic. I call it the virgin pop because, again, like you said, Sable pull my cable. I didn't see that sign. There was too many signs to like keep track of, but neither here nor there. So I just wanted to give credence. I just wanted to give credence to what I saw in this pay-per-view. So let's put a bow on this and let's talk about the last match, Rock and Mankind, because the past of both guys winning multiple matches, again, hindsight, well, not hindsight, but the optics, if you will, Reflectionites, was Vince McMahon was designating Mankind he wanted him to be the corporate champion. And from the optics, from giving him Dwayne Gill as his first round match and winning convincingly in about 10 seconds, proof positive. He had a harder match with Al Snow, if you will. But again, Vince McMahon, with the optics, stole Sacco from Mankind and put it on head to give motivation for Mankind to win his match, which was kind of like Rocky-esque. And then again, Stone Cold Steve Austin. With the other MVP, you had Boss Man. And of course, the double turn already started, TW. We haven't even acknowledged. Shane McMahon was supposedly on the side of Stone Cold Steve Austin. He gave Stone Cold Steve Austin a 5-year contract, and no matter what, guarantees the first shot at the heavyweight title. So he didn't even need to win this tournament. He was already gifted a title shot. But Shane McMahon gives the finger to Austin and helps Mankind to win the match and go on to the finals. On the other side, if you're really a hardcore fan and you're kind of noticing the optics, Boss Man against The Rock wins in 5 seconds with a roll-up.
4.
Rock.
Record setting's 4 seconds.
4 seconds, okay. Rock against Shamrock. Boss Man comes in, throws the nightstick, supposedly to Shamrock, and Rock, quote-unquote, intercepts it. But if I'm looking, but the optics shows that people are getting helped here from the
Rock immediately threw it back to the Boss Man.
Mm-hmm. And then going to the semifinals, Undertaker against The Rock, which was technically the hardest match because The Undertaker had his issues with the corporation. The Undertaker had his issues with Vince McMahon personally for the last couple of months too. He wanted the heavyweight title too. So he already made it to the semifinals. But then Vince McMahon manipulated, if you will, TW, Kane to fuck up the match. So the optics made it look like The Rock made it on to the finals on his own too. So you got the People's Champion on one side, and you got the corporate representative on the other side with The Rock and Mankind. And this match went on the longest. It went on for about 20 minutes or so, the most. And we'll say it again, Reflectionites. Vince McMahon copied what happened in 1997 in Survivor Series. He copied the sharpshooter angle. He copied that he rang the bell and forced Earl Hebner to tap out Mick Foley. And it was all a ruse all along. Vince McMahon said the people screwed the people, and The Rock became the undisputed corporate champion. And lo and behold, TW Mankind was in the ring, dumbfounded. His father betrayed him. And, of course, The Rock beat the shit out of him. And then, of course, with all the shenanigans going on between Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin, which is the A-list storyline for the past couple of months since early 98. So it's the continuation. So TW, this match went on the longest, but the ending is the most memorable. The ending is the most infamous because it copied what happened in 1997. So for me, with seeing this pay-per-view again, we could have put a bow in it. To me, there's nothing else memorable even before this. Everything memorable that's timeless is this match. Right. All 1998 Deadly Games, to me, for the Professor, memory-wise, timeless-wise, is Rock winning the belt, a la, with the sharpshooter and copying what happened in 97. What say you? Put a bow on this for yourself, too.
You're half wrong. It all led to this, but you just listed all the things that happened throughout the night that set it up even more. The night kick, the roll-up, the Kane choke slamming him, all that stuff was done to garner you to cheer for Rocky versus Mick Foley to have him win. But by the way, I didn't win for you fuckers. I won for this guy. But yeah, I remember none of this, so that means I didn't watch it. But one thing I do like is I'm going to assume that was the first time The Rock did the sharpshooter, but he went on to use it for the rest of his career.
I don't know if this was the first time via Survivor Series. I think he was using it during his push, you could say his good guy push in the last 2 months.
Right,
so
but that would have also been there to set that up for that because it didn't make no sense that he did it. Right. I just know that it's cool that he kept it. But the funny thing is, he's got the funniest sharpshooter of all. Because the two most famous sharpshooters are Brett's and then the Scorpion Deathlock, right? But The Rock does it, and he does it so fucking pompous that when he finally sits down, it looks like someone's sitting down to take a mean shit. Like he's just like, when he finally gets him locked in it, and he just sits there like he's in the most comfortable place ever. Whereas most sharpshooters, I know from putting people in it, it ain't comfortable standing there like that. You feel like a fucking idiot because you are bent over and what do you call it, exposed to whatever. And my favorite story with the sharpshooter, probably told you this a million times, but I'm going to tell it again because it's the holidays. Buddy of mine passed away, Woody. Him and his partner, Bobby Lee, Woody Lee, they were the Outlaws. Woody's in the back. We tell him the cue is, once you see me put him in the sharpshooter, come out and save him, right? Woody is fucking staring me in the eye through the crack of the door across the fucking the soccer rink that we're at, soccer rink, field, whatever. He's staring at me like waiting for a sign, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, what the fuck? Do you want me to point? Like, I have him in the sharpshooter. And my manager, Libido, who's the Impact guy, says to me, Tommy, ease up. You're killing the guy. I had no idea that I was so distracted and trying not to laugh at Woody that I'm just cranking on this thing. This dude's got 2 rebuilt knees, a rebuilt hip, and... You didn't hear his screams? No, because the crowd's booing like crazy because I'm putting him in this move. And because it wasn't a match. It was because they were a tag team. Actually, I think I was defending my title against someone else, and he came. But he finally comes running out, and we're dying. But Jeff's like, "Hey man, you're killing the poor guy. Can you eat?" My own manager, like if the fans would have heard him, he's telling me to fucking ease up off the guy that we were attacking. But that's
you're stiff. You're stiff.
Oh, ask Travis.
So with that being said, Reflection Night, before we close, we have to give it, because it's episodic and because it's a pay-per-view, we got to give it a grade. And again, I told you TW I was going to eviscerate it, but, I held back a little bit because, again, I gave my credences of certain negatives and positives. You can understand what they were doing, and we're kind of going hindsight. But again, for me, if I'm going to call this an overextended and overproduction Monday Night Raw, then I got to be honest with my grade on the 1998 Deadly Games Survivor Series. I got to give it a B- because I know what The Rock offers to the table. I know what Austin offers to the table. And technically, and I'll say this, I know what Sable offers to the table and the New Age Outlaws. So you have all that pomp and circumstances of the entertainment value. So with that being said, the match quality is, I don't want to say garbage, but being that it was so like minuscule and so minute with 5-minute matches, I have to give some grades down on it. So I'm going to give it a B-, and I'm being nice. I wanted to give it a C, but I said the entertainment value I have to give positives for the entertainment value because it was very, with the flow, like you said, Vince Russo using the prop of the belt, it made sense. So B- from the professor. What say you on your grade, and we're going to close it out.
I'm going to give it a B because I think overall everything did what it was supposed to do. I didn't need the triple threat tag match. I definitely didn't need Billy Gunn's gear.
Mr. Ass, remember?
I really didn't need him mooning the crowd when his gear already looked like he had thong showing. But the Sable and Jacqueline, I mean, you know, you gotta. Why have female wrestlers if you're not going to have there's, and I'm not woke, but you should have a female match on every show because in today's day and age, I don't think that's being woke. That's just being like you just stating the obvious. I'm not fucking virtue signaling. I'm saying this, and there's a reason for it. Because they had the Sable versus Jacqueline match, because they had Lita versus Trish, because we today in 2022 have fucking more female wrestlers than we've ever had, and they're fucking talented, right? They're not just there to give the girlfriend a reason to be there when you drag her along to the show. There's, it's not, if we're being honest, Professor, it's not your cup of tea. It ain't my cup of tea. Have there been female matches that blew me away? Absolutely. Am I a fan of Rhea Ripley? Absolutely. But I watch it in the hopes with 3 daughters that if my kids are watching it with me, they might see somebody and go, oh, I like that girl. I want to be like her, something like that. So, you hear all the time. Hockey says it all the time. Hockey is for everyone. They prove that by sponsoring transgender hockey tournament. I don't know how the fuck you get enough people to have that. I couldn't even get enough regular dudes to play beer leagues. But the bottom line is I like the Jackie match in there. Otherwise, because if you're going to have a tournament, I think you have the tournament, and we're looking at it like it's real. It has to be boom, 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 boom. And you try to space them out so nobody's wrestling back to back, right? And the way you do that is by the time you get to the final 2, you throw Jacqueline and Sable out there. They have their match, and now The Rock and Mankind come out. They both are rested. One of them obviously a little more because his match was first. But they come out and they do their thing, and you go home. Because the tournament should have been the whole night. I don't even remember if WrestleMania 4 had other matches. I'm going to assume they did because it was a shorter tournament.
They didn't. No, wait. They had 2. It was Barber and Honky, and then Demolition and Strikeforce.
Right. So there you go. Because you gotta break
and the Battle Royal.
And then the King of the Ring usually had the King of the Ring and then a world title match, or the King of the Ring and a tag title match. But the bottom line is I give it a B because everything played its role. And I'm going to tell you why you had quick matches. Because they harped on it. The first round was 10 minutes, the second round was 15, the third was 20, and the main was no time limit, right? Because you gave credence to each match meaning more. And so basically Goldust and Shamrock come out and throw the kitchen sink at each other so it ends quicker because they're not pacing themselves for the 20-minute time limit. You know what I mean? Like they gave you the reason why these matches were quicker. Also, I like that they threw Al Snow and they threw Dwayne Gill and they threw a first round bye. And then, by the way, I never ever knew William Regal was Steven Regal in the WWF ever. I thought he was William Regal from fucking day one.
He's a man. He's a real man's man.
Real man, Steven Regal, right. But that must have been when he first got there. Because he wasn't allowed to be Steven because of Steve Austin. Just like Shane Helms became Gregory Helms because of Shane McMahon. They didn't want 2 guys with the same name.
But funny enough, after this tournament, he left to go back to WCW.
Regal did?
He didn't want to be. He didn't want to be a man's man anymore. No, the Goldberg thing happened in 97.
This is 98.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew he went back.
He did, yeah.
Did he go back and they put him in Goldberg and he did it again?
No, he just did his own thing.
Okay.
He was relegated to maybe Saturday night stuff more than Nitro stuff. Maybe, I don't know. No, not Bob. No, he did his own solo thing, but he went back to WCW. So after this Survivor Series, two people conveniently left.
Jarrett.
Regal and no, not Jarrett. And Mark Merrow. He left the WWE.
After that night?
No, well, you know, a couple of weeks after, give or take.
Because him and Sable were having the problems, eh?
I don't know about that. I just think they didn't renew the contract, and Merrow was just slipping. He just wanted Sable to be, you know, that top echelon, and he kind of put a back seat to himself. So it is what it is.
His career took a shit when he started dressing like a boxer.
Yeah, that too. So with that being said, Reflectionites, we close on this episodic episode of the Thanksgiving Hangover Survivor Series Hangover edition of the PWR podcast here at the PWSO Networks at podbean.com. And so what we're going to do, TW, for the next episode, you know, should we do another episodic? Well, you know what? I'm going to hold off on the episodic for another week. I think we got to do another what if. We got to go back to the what if realm. And once you're
in a row, this would be 3 out of 4.
We haven't done a what if in a couple of weeks. So, you know, I want to be, because, you know, the funny thing, they're sliding into the DMs because what if has captured the imagination of the Reflectionists. I've gotten suggestions from Greenpeace. I've gotten suggestions from Phil Schmetnick. So I got to respect it. And I want to, you know, the gravy train of the what if, it's apropos. It writes itself. But I got a what if for myself because I think I want your thinking cap on this one. So we're going to do a what if. What if Tully Blanchard was allowed to come back to WCW in 1989 and reunite the Four Horsemen as the way it should have been? Remember TW in 1989? He was supposed to come back, but he failed the drug test.
I can tell you what happened. That show.
No. Don't say anything.
That shelf right there would have a Tully Blanchard figure on it instead of a Barry Windham and Sid Vicious to go with Arn and Rick. Still mad about it.
Yeah, so what if Tully Blanchard didn't fail the drug test and came back and reunited the Horsemen in 1989? Put your thinking caps on, TW, because I think we gotta put I think the war between WCW and WWE in 1989, maybe into 1990, would have been a little bit different if Tully Blanchard was allowed to be back in there. So I see you're salivating. I think you got some thinking. You can book it for maybe about a year with a reunited Four Horsemen. So with that being,
think I know what happened.
Mm-hmm. So with that being said, TW,
1992 has a different assortment of people in that interview. That one of the greatest interviews of all time, promos.
Absolutely. So with that, TW, give out those socials so we can get out of here.
All right, the PWC Network at podbean.com. We skipped that, but this week I threw it in there on accident. So there you go.
Shout out to them too.
I skipped the fucking top one, but anyways. Hami Media Group at podbean.com. Check us out there. HMG is also channelattitude.com. Check out the Hami Media Group there. Our show is at PW Reflection. I said JB's name, so catch him at the P1JB. We said Travis, so we're gonna hit him up with at Nuts and Bolts PW, and of course Big Ray Hernandez. By the way, Ray, you got to stick on the original timeline and move next fall so I can come visit in New York while you still live there. So at Big Ray Hernandez is his Twitter, his TikTok, his Instagram. They're all worth following. I have Tommy Wonder 19 on Instagram and Twitter. I have at the Tommy Wonder on TikTok and Twitter. I have Facebook.com/Tommy Wonder. Snapchat is #Wonder. And then Big Vito and Noel, they're at bigvitobrand.wixsite.com, patreon.com/the Big Vito Brand, and then Dum Dum Duel and an Idiot someday, somewhere, somehow.
Well, for Thanksgiving, you was going to eat and it was going to digest in your stomach. So you didn't want to regurgitate that. So I can respect that, and the Reflection X can respect that. With that being said, you can find me on my Twitter at PWSOPROF. That's PWSOPROF. Follow my brothers in arms, the man with the documents, Billy Ray Valentine at Obi-Wan You Know Me, and a man, and the king of the reactions, 8-Track Brown at the number 8, TRAC Brown. And again, next week, What If? We're coming back with a What If special for the professor, because I want this one, because I think TW can book this one too. What if Tully Blanchard did not fail the drug test and come back to WCW 1989 to reunite the Four Horsemen? How the wrestling world would have changed. And with that being said, I'm the professor. That's Mr. Wonderful, the Tommy One is saying good night. Happy belated Thanksgiving. Happy belated Survivor Series hangovers. And we'll see you next time here at the PWR podcast at the PWS Networks at PowerBeam.com. Peace! The fuck is that?
It was either Sable or Mark Merrill's entrance. One of the two.
Good, that was Sable.
You smell what the Rock is cooking?